I need that money. I really, really do. I need that money. I really need that money. Really need that money. I need that money. I really, really do. I need that money. I really need that money. Really need that money. Really, that money. That money. Would come on my stream. I think like it had just been like a random recommended stream for me. You know how Twitch sometimes will just say, hey, watch these other guys or whatever.
I mean, I remember exactly what happened if you want me to tell it.
Yeah, go for it, because I don't remember the original story.
All right. So back then, 2017, I was the worst kind of virgin. I still am, but I was back then too. I only played Dark Souls every fucking day. And you know DSP, you know This Is How You Don't Play Dark Souls 2. I knew about you because I would watch This Is How You Don't Play. And I thought you getting fucked up in Dark Souls 2 was the funniest shit ever. Now, in a different time, you would consider me a detractor for that. But I found those videos hilarious. It had never crossed the threshold from like actually having a personal disdain towards you. Right. I watched the shit out of those. My two favorite streamers at the time were you and Man vs. Game, primarily for the same reason. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I'm not familiar with that person.
He streamed like 1 million hours, and he took speed to stream like 30 hours, which I think you should do. It would be funny. I want to see that.
I'd probably die.
I think you'd be fine. But anyways, so I had auto host on, and sorry if I go on forever. Streamers are all fucking.
I want to hear. I don't remember this at all, so I'll go for it, man.
So you were a joke in Dark Souls, straight up. Like everyone laughed at your ability to play those games. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was funny. I can say I didn't have any personal grudge against you, but a lot of people did, and so I hosted only 2 people with auto host. I didn't actively send all of my people there, but after my stream ended, I had 2 people on auto host. You and a woman named Velvet7. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't.
I think you'd really like her. I think you would. She's. I'll leave it at that. But it was kind of a joke. And then one day I was streaming, and it's like Darkside Phil is auto hosting you, and I'm like, oh shit. Okay, well, I didn't really expect that sort of reaction. Then you came into my chat and you started talking, and I didn't know what to do because, I made fun of you regularly. My favorite was the From Software. That's one of my favorites from you. And it was weird because you came in and you were polite, you were cordial, you were nice. And it's a side that I hadn't seen when you were playing like Castlevania Lords of Shadow, like throwing controllers against the wall. It was humanizing, right?
Right.
So it was strange. And I told you straight up, the first thing I said to you, and I fully expected you to just leave after I said it, is I watch This Is How You Don't Play. I think it's funny. Like I hosted you, and it's just, I didn't want you to get any misunderstandings as to what was going on. Right. And then you'd come into chat and you got along pretty well. It was weird because I would say things like, DSP, you should let me coach you into doing a Bloodborne level 4 run. It would be funny. And you would always swerve me every time. You never committed, but you would be in chat joking all the time. And it was just strange. I don't know. That's how it started from my perspective.
Gotcha. I didn't remember that at all. I remember all the auto hosting stuff that happened on Twitch, but I didn't remember, exactly how it went down. Is that people always hear or see the worst of me from either This Is How You Don't Play, or now, I hate to say it, it's my detractors now are just absolutely ridiculous. They're A-loggers. They literally just sit there and make the worst compilations that aren't even true. They're completely out of context. They just do whatever they can to make me look like an asshole. Okay.
Sometimes you gotta stop. There are some of them that are like me. Like you would consider me a detractor in a certain sense because I watch those videos. Maybe not now.
No, not anymore. See, you're absolutely right. This is what's happened is in the last 7 years, dude, I have mellowed out. I don't give a shit what people watch. You can make fun of me as much as you want because I've had the worst of it. I've had way worse than that. I got people now who are stalking my family members. I've got people who are, doing crazy shit that you should never do to anyone who's a content creator. And it's like, why would I care if you watched a video that made fun of how bad I am at Dark Souls? I think it's funny. I've actually reacted to some of This Is How You Don't Plays myself and laughed my ass off because they are funny, So I don't think you're a detractor at all because you watch that stuff. The vast majority of people who come and watch me now are people who have seen negative stuff about me and they want to come see the raw content, and then they realize, hey, just like you found out, Phil's actually kind of a chill guy. He's not really, over the top angry all the time. Well, sometimes, exactly.
Not when you play fighting games. You're not very chill when you play fighting
Oh,
games.
I know. When I
That's
play
like
fighting
the last
games,
vestige of that old rage.
yeah, and you know what? That's part of the reason why I do keep it in the rotation, because a lot of people like to see the old Phil come out, and that's really when it comes out. Outside of that, much other stuff I've really chilled out over the years. All right, so that's great. And what I think we should do, we could transition into kind of
really quick,
talking about our history a little bit, how we started to kind of, talk to each other, hang out on each other's streams, and when it ended up happening eventually, because like most things, over the years, people spin the story, or they come from a different perspective. And I just kind of wanted to have the conversation with you to clear the air about what had happened back in, like, I think it was like 2017. I can't remember if even we had continued to like have interactions in 2018.
It was around there.
Yeah. So from my perspective, I thought you were a really cool guy, right? Like, I started
Can I
watching.
interrupt you really quickly?
Oh, what's that? Okay, go ahead.
I want to say one thing before we continue on, because
Yeah.
I personally, I think that you paint the detractors with too broad of a brush. They're absolutely the fucking weirdos for sure. But I mean, both times I've interacted with you, some of them came into my chat last night, and initially there was a little bit of acrimony, but there you talk to them, and it's mostly fine. I think a big problem for you is that you never leaned into the criticism. The more you pushed against them, the worse and worse they became. And I'm personally of the opinion that if you had just learned to laugh at yourself a little
Yep.
earlier on, then it would never have gotten this bad, in my opinion, my unsolicited opinion towards you. But every time you paint all of the people who have criticism of you as like this monolith of detractors who are all stalking your family, you're going to make it worse every single time you say that.
Yep. And you're right. And just for the record, now when I say detractors, I don't mean people who don't like me. I mean people who stalk me. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I don't care about the criticism anymore. I'm open to it. I mean, I just reacted to a 4-hour documentary about myself that kind of exposed all the messed up stuff I've done over the years, and I agree with all of it. Like, I am in the position I'm in now because originally, when This Is How You Don't Play started, I reacted in the stupidest way. I was so angry at everyone. I was like, oh, how dare you use my content without my permission? You're stealing. You're breaking the law. You're right. I should have leaned into it. I should have rolled with it. Hell, I should have made my own compilations and then made fun of myself. And I don't think that it ever would have gotten to the level that it did. But because I was so anti-criticism, right? Anyone who criticized me was the enemy, right? So many people realize, well, wait a minute, it makes him act angry. Then we can make more content out of it. Now we can make more videos. And it just kept rolling and rolling and kept escalating and escalating to the point where it comes to today. So no, I'm well aware that when I say detractors, absolutely not. I don't mean people who criticize me or laugh at me or make fun of me. People are welcome to do that. I do it myself now. I've changed for the better in that regard. But when I say detractors, I mean the extreme cases.
All right. Would you say the only thing you've leaned into is banning people then? You like the lean in ban? Your lean in ban thing. Yeah. That's around when I stopped watching your streams. Is back then. I remember you getting pissed at people making fun of the lean in ban and the frogs. For some reason, you really didn't like the frogs. At the time.
And just so you know, after that, basically I adopted all of it. I made a lean in manual ban emote. We had frog emotes. We basically started celebrating the memes rather than being anti-meme. And it worked for a pretty long time, to the fact where now, once you lean into the memes, they kind of lose their power as a negative reinforcement, and then people forget about them. So now, like, no one talks about the frog meme. No one in my chat even really remembers what you're talking about with the frog meme, because it was like, from a past time.
I mean, they must be really fucking confused on who I am, because it's been 100 years. I mean, that's fine. I just think that it's been a consistent problem, is just painting too broad a brush with people.
I completely agree with you these days. You're right. I was an asshole back in the day. I thought my shit didn't stink. I thought, hey, I'm the content creator. I'm the big shot streamer. How dare you criticize me and say I'm doing something wrong? And that was the absolute wrong way to take it, And I've learned over the years to mellow out and have a different attitude. And I appreciate now when people call me out for it, because sometimes I don't realize what's going on. And then when people call me out for it, I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm making a mistake. This is stupid. I need to change my attitude. And, for the most part, people say that I have mellowed out a lot, and that's a good thing, obviously. So, and yeah, to some extent it's worked. Like, for example, the reason I'm not on Twitch right now is because my detractors, I don't know if you know this, Tolo, back in 2021, my detractors made like a mega cut of all the things that I used to say and do in like 2010. All right. So we're talking like 11 years prior, a joke about Nazis that's really bad and I never should have made. And this joke about some woman, and then this joke about certain race. Right. And they made this super cut of content that they thought was offensive. And they sent it to Twitch and said, you got this guy in their partner program. Do you really want this kind of person in there? And Twitch removed me from their partner program, citing that I'm using hateful speech. I'm like, the shit that you're talking about happened 11 years ago. Like, how are you going to cancel me now for stuff that I don't do, right? So to some extent, it does hurt me. But for the most part, I've been through the ringer for so long that, people know who I am. They know, they know what to expect. And I don't think that I'm ever going to be canceled. Even if I get thrown off a site, there's a million other places I can go, and my viewers follow me. So I'm not really too concerned about that kind of shit.
Okay. Correct me if I'm misunderstanding this, but wasn't there a ban before that one where you made fun of a guy for having blue hair or something? Like you clicked on his Twitch profile and ridiculed his appearance?
Oh yeah, there was a few. Twitch is so weird, and I got to give you credit, man, for the fact that you still stream there, because they're so weird with the way that they do business. Like, I remember that was one case where I'm just on my stream, and there's a guy who's a troll. He's an outright troll. He's making fun of me. He's insulting me. So I just clap back at him, and I just happened to look at his avatar, and he has blue hair, and I'm like, dude, you and your stupid, probably I probably said like you look like a Muppet or something like that, right? You look like a Muppet with your colored hair, or whatever. And they actually just said, oh, this is strike one against your channel. How dare you like insult someone's physical appearance on your stream? I'm like, how do you even know that's them? It's just an avatar. I don't even know that that's really the person. I'm just making a stupid comment because they insulted me first. But to Twitch, that's like, oh God, you can't do that. The thing that really got me about Twitch, they don't sometimes would like say I had done stuff wrong and apparently hit me with like a strike, but they didn't tell me. So, like, for example, I remember I was doing a Christmas marathon and I was like really drunk, like buzzed, like really buzzed, not drunk, but like I drank a lot. And I was like impersonating a bad streamer. And I accidentally said like the F word or something, right? While I'm buzzed. And immediately I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I was trying to impersonate someone who does the wrong thing, right? So months pass. And then all of a sudden, my channel gets temporarily suspended for like a day. And I contacted my Twitch partner manager at the time. And I said, what happened? Why am I suspended? He goes, oh, well, this is like strike two. I said, strike two for what? Oh, well, back in December, you said this. I said, you didn't even tell me about it. You didn't give me a strike. Like, you didn't even tell me I had a strike. Like, where do I see this shit? And the guy had nothing to say. He's like, oh, well, it doesn't matter if I told you or not. You had it anyway. Like, what?
Well, to be fair, that word's verboten on Twitch. Like you said it, even if it was a mistake, you did it.
Right. And for me, the whole air of unprofessionalism of Twitch and how it's run, like on YouTube, when I get a strike, I know I got the strike. They email me about it. My channel has a giant pop-up on it that says, this has happened. Now you must, change your behavior. On Twitch, you don't even know what the hell's going on. And all of a sudden, they'll just turn your stream off. Like, what's going on? And then they say, oh, you said a slur during your stream. No, I didn't. Appeal. And then they just turn my stream back on 3 hours later because I never did it. Like, they just made it up. So that's one of the reasons I left. I couldn't take them being so unprofessional. I want a place where if you're going to hold me accountable, fine. I want to know what I'm doing wrong and improve. But you got to give me a chance. Like, you got to tell me what's happening, not just take me out of the partner program with no warning, no chance to, like, improve myself or be better. Suspend my channel on a whim. Don't tell me I have strikes against. I was like, enough is it. This is a business for me. This is my living. I got to go somewhere where they're gonna take it more seriously. And that's when I've been at YouTube the last 3.5 years, and I have not had any of those kind of problems streaming over here.
So did you leave or did you get banned?
I left. I was removed from the partner program in 2021. They cited hate speech. And I said, what hate speech? I want you to tell me. They refused. They said, we don't have to tell you anything. But in a year, you can apply to get your partnership back. And I was like, what's the point of me reapplying when you won't tell me what I did wrong to begin with? I have no clue what you're even talking about. Come to find out, then I found out, of course, doing research, that it was my detractors who had done this supercut. Again, this was like 2010, 2011 shit that I had said and done. And they sent it to Twitch and campaigned to get me out of the partner program. So they threw me out. I still streamed on Twitch for about a month and a half after having lost my partnership. But I couldn't, basically I was making a living just on like tips, because, you know, I couldn't get bits, I couldn't get subs, and I was trying to get people to just basically tip and still make a living doing it. But where the straw that broke the camel's back was I was streaming Returnal. And during Returnal, you know, that's a very fast-paced game. Like, a million shit on a screen. Like, things are flying at you all over the place. Very tough game. And I got tongue-tied. I was like saying something and I was reading something off the screen, but I was also saying something else. And I combined like two words together and it was like a jumble. And my detractors, again, this is not critics of me. This is my actual detractors who wish me harm. False reported me to Twitch saying that I had said the N-word. I was like, what? I never did. You can replay the clip. I definitely didn't say it. It was just me being tongue-tied, like saying two words together that ended with like, you know, grr at the end of it or something like that. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, he said the N-word. And they actually suspended me. They suspended my channel for that. And I was like, what the fuck? So I appealed it. And later that day, they removed the suspension. But I was like, there is absolutely no way I'm going to continue to work on this site if they're going to just suspend me on a whim for something I literally didn't do. So that's why I've been gone since then. I actively chose to leave. I could reapply partnership, but I don't want to, man. I don't want to deal with them.
Have a horse in the race, but do you think you would have gotten removed from the partner program if it wasn't for the hair incident and the saying the slur incident? Because I feel like from Twitch's perspective, you got to think, okay, well, he says he changed, but look at these two things that happened recently, like what, within the last year and a half, 2 years? I don't know the time frame,
I
but
actually don't remember either. Right.
so you know, it's you got to accept some culpability for that, right?
Listen, I will openly admit that I'm not a perfect dude, and I said and
None
done
of
things
us
that I shouldn't
are.
have done, you know. But again, for me, it's the air of not being professional about it. If they were transparent with me and were like, okay, listen, this happened, you got to strike. This happened, you got to strike. You got to be careful. But they don't do that. They'll just all of a sudden you'll just have your
You're
stream
talking
turned
about a
on.
company. I don't know if you ever saw this, but it's a company where they had like this Twitch ambassador program where they had like an otherkin who thought, I think she was a deer and would do like deer role play on the stream, or she'd eat grass and say that her haters are grass and she's going to eat them. So, I mean, yeah, Twitch is confusing sometimes, but I think that in that case you're mentioning, I think you would have been fine if you didn't do those two things. Because, like, yeah, I get being pressed and someone is trolling you and annoying you, but if you're going and insulting their physical appearance, you're I don't know, man.
I
I
mean, fair
think
enough. Fair enough. You know, if that's your perspective, that's cool.
about that.
You know?
So one of the things for me is, you remember when we had like a half-hearted idea, oh, we're gonna play Monster Hunter or whatever, right?
Sure.
Back in the
Yeah.
day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest. I've never expected you to commit to that for even a minute. I don't know what I would have done if you showed up and you're like, "Yeah, let's play Monster Hunter," because you never commit to anything like that ever. You don't interact with other people. So for me, it was just kind of like, okay, well, he's not gonna do it. I was really surprised when you even played the demo for that game.
Right.
But the reason why I wanted to stop having any sort of associating with you, a lot of people are under the impression that you have me here to launder your image, to make it seem like
Wow.
that's what I was being told last night. And you know, people say what they're going to say, but one thing is, with the Monster Hunter World thing, a lot of the acrimony I was receiving from your side of things is because you were apparently saying Tolomeo doesn't like this game. I'm not playing it because even Tolomeo doesn't think it's good. And so you should have known better than to say stuff like that, because what do you think's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And granted, you know, to be fair to you, I didn't bring this up when I told you that because I thought you were going to go and say, blame it on the detractors. And then uh,
Mhm.
I didn't didn't trust you to keep it on the down low, right? But the reason was because you said that people were coming in saying that you said the reason you were not playing Monster Hunter World was because of me. And I'm like, okay, normally in a normal relationship with another person, that's not the end of the world, but I felt you should have more sense because you know how people are going to react when you say
Right.
things like that about other people. Does that
You're
make
right.
sense?
Oh no, that totally makes sense. Um, that is something that sadly in my past I had a big problem with is even though like I'm trying to remember because obviously now it's like 7 years ago, and I'm trying to actually remember from my perspective why I thought that you didn't like Monster Hunter World. I can't remember if I saw you stream it or if you had just said that, but it's like in reality, like you saw, I played the demo, and the reason that I didn't play it is because when I streamed the demo, my viewers hated it. They were like,
That's because you were playing with randoms from your chat, dude. Like they
"Well,
were
yeah,
like,
right."
oh man. Oh,
Well,
that was
they
mm,
they even knew more than me. Like I didn't know anything about Monster Hunter. I was just trying to learn it on the fly. The only time I had played Monster Hunter before then was like one of the 3DS ones, and it was playing by myself, so I really didn't know what the hell I was doing then either. Um, but you're right. I shouldn't have. I don't distinctly remember how I said it. I remember saying it. Now that you're bringing this up, I totally remember that I had said that. And more than likely, you're right. It was me kind of justifying not playing the game, and saying, well, not only did you guys not like it in the demo, but also Tolomeo doesn't like it,
yeah,
right?
you were kind
Or
of throwing me under the
Tolomeo,
bus a little
right?
bit.
And that's my fault, and I apologize for that. I do. I used to do shit like that. That's my fault. Misspeaking. I did the same thing. I'll fess up here. I used to do the same thing with my friend John Rambo back in the day, where
It's a very nice cat, by the way. How's he doing?
he's doing good. Jasper Kitty jumping up on the chair here, and at the same time that he's on the screen. Cool.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting. John Rambo, you were talking about
Yeah.
that.
No, the same thing happened with him where there was a situation with John Rambo where we were doing a project together, and someone had commented on one of my videos and said, John Rambo's the best part of the show. We don't like you. We don't like the other guys who are in it. We only like John Rambo. And I took offense to that. And instead of being like, you know what, who cares? What do? I open my big mouth and I say something dumb. And I say, when you say that, you're insulting everyone involved with the project because it's not just John Rambo who's on the project. It's me and it's the crew and it's all of this. And of course, what happens is John Rambo's like, dude, why'd you say that? Because now it sounds like you're discrediting me. If someone likes what I'm doing on the show, why are you talking shit and acting? You know what I mean? Like, and I do have a bad habit of bringing that kind of shit up. Like, why am I bringing you up for my reason that I'm not playing Monster Hunter World? Yeah, I'm not playing it because number one, I don't know how to play it. I played it with, like you said, with people from my moderators and stuff, and no one really liked it. And I should have just left it at that. So I apologize to you that you got any kind of negative clapback at all for the stuff that I said and did. Again, never my intention. I still feel awful about it to this day. You're a really cool guy. Well, for the times that we had those interactions, we were hanging out. It was a blast. I love being on your stream and talking with you when you were playing some game. The internet's a
How'd
weird
you have to
fucking
be
place.
convinced? What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that a little
Sure.
more for me?
Listen. It's not like I have any problem kicking, a pedophile out of my community. The problem is, this is someone who has absolutely never shown that in any of my streams or content. Like, I wouldn't even know about this if my detractors hadn't stalked this guy. Like, apparently they went to his social media, they went to his YouTube channel, they went to private playlists. I don't know, because I literally have never seen it. I don't want to see it, right? I don't want to be involved with that shit. But, I start hearing from detractors, oh, this guy is this guy is that. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay attention to it. I'm not a guy who's going to micromanage and stalk every one of my fans because someone says something negative about them, right? So it was like my philosophy. Listen, I'm not your dad. I'm not your fucking parent. I'm not the cops. I shouldn't be, going to everyone's social media to see what you're into in your private life and shit. I really don't care. Just don't bring it to my content. I want to know nothing about it. But
okay. So I have a few problems with that.
All right, fine.
The thing
Go ahead.
about that is like, yeah, you shouldn't be stalking people, but in this instance, it sounded like they were doing you a favor. They're saying there's someone who's into like little kids. Like, that's giving you like that's not stalking someone and being unreasonable. If someone says like this person has pedophilic tendencies, you should probably ban them from your chat. You got to think of like What if they're DMing other people in your chat? What if they're doing shit behind the scenes? I think you, as a content creator, a streamer, however you want to style yourself, has a responsibility to the people who pay your bills to protect them from people like that. I think that if it took you a long time from when they first told you to you banning them, that's a pretty big moral failing, in my opinion.
Well, the way I see it, and listen, I'm not going to disagree with you. Okay, I'm not. The way I see it is, this is a guy who, I would argue, was probably about a year and a half, 2 years. Was in chat and never caused a problem, and I didn't know any of this shit. And then all of a sudden, where do you hear it from? Am I hearing it from trusted people? No, I'm hearing it from, like, my detractors are coming in and trolling the guy. And by the way, this is not the only guy. They do this with a lot of my viewers. This just happened to be like a bad offender. Like, they'll make fun of my viewers for dumb shit too. This is a really bad
pedophilia.
situation.
This is different. You could take 5 minutes to check the validity of this, right?
Well, again, that's a big step. For me, that's a big step, because you're saying now that any time that one of my detractors comes in and says, hey, just so you know, this person's doing something bad, now I'm supposed to just believe them and go check on every single person. Because what happens is, when you give these people an inch, they take a mile. So the first time it happens and I entertain it and I take the step, now it's going to happen to the next person and the next, and they're never going to give up. They're just going to do it literally to every person. And eventually it's going to be bullshit. It's going to be, this isn't serious. They're just doing it now to get attention because they realized they got me to react the first time. But I agree with you now.
The first time was a legitimate thing though, right?
But now I know it was. I didn't know it was at first. It took a lot of convincing from a lot of different people. And in fact, I had to personally, behind the scenes, apologize to a couple of people who were not detractors, who did recently tell me about this guy. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to give those haters that satisfaction that they think that I'm just going to take action because they say something about it.
But that literally doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the alternative is what? He's a pedophile and you don't ban him, and that you're sticking it to the detractors that way. They would probably be like, okay, well, we don't like Phil. We don't like that he asked for so much money. But when it comes to serious issues like this, he's, because you got to stop thinking about these hypotheticals. Ultimately, you said previously, should I check every time one person says something about my viewers? But before you said that, you told me just now that a lot of people were telling you about Derich, right?
At one point, yes, very recently. And that's actually when I got rid of him.
Okay. So I don't know. I just think if you're going to have the audacity to go in and, like, let's face it, like, streaming's pretty cushy in a lot of ways. If you're asking people for money, you should do right by them. And I think that doing right by them means not allowing actual child predators to just freely roam the chat, right?
For the record, I don't even know if it's like fully true. I just know people have told me. I didn't go deep into looking into this guy's stuff. And for the record, because I know you probably don't know this, there's no DMs on YouTube. There's no way this guy could have, like, reached out and tried to stalk or harass people through my channel. Unlike Twitch, where definitely that can happen, and there's evidence it happens all the time. On YouTube, it's just, it's like a comment system. So this guy, to my knowledge, was not ever taking anything that he did in his private life and putting it onto my viewers or other people in the community. In fact, again, the only reason I knew about this is because supposedly my detractors went deep into his shit to find it. And then when they found it, they threw it in my face like it's my fault, right? Oh, you have a follower who's a fucking pedophile. How dare you not take action? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, why are you bothering me with this shit, But then after a while, you hear more and more people talk about it. And that's why, yes, finally when you have enough people, like, they're all confirming it. All right, now I got to take action because it's true. But my issue with it, now I understand. But my issue with it was, I was afraid that if you give these people an inch, they will keep taking the mile and keep pushing the envelope with every person in chat, with every person who ever supported me. And then, by the way, for the record, this guy didn't even support me. He never even gave $1. He never became a paid member, nothing. He was just the chatter, like a casual guy there. But fair enough. I've certainly heard this from so many people. You're just the next person to correct me on this issue. And, from now on, when I hear of serious shit like this going on, I absolutely will look into it and address it, because I agree with you. The safety of the community is more important then, you know, oh, the detractor's got a one up on me.
Yeah, because like you said that one of the things you said in our DMs is you feel like you're on a redemption arc, right? Like you're trying to go on a redemption arc and prove that people were wrong about you, yeah?
I'm not that I'm trying to prove people are wrong. I'm trying to improve. Like, I know that
Okay.
I've made problems. I've had problems. I've had bad behavior. I'm trying to be better now. And I want people to know that. I want people to know that this is not the old Phil who's just going to sit here isolated, not talk to anyone, be a fucking, you know, stupid, big-headed idiot, not take criticism, not improve for the better. I want to be the better person. That's one of the reasons why I have you on today. I wanted the kind of conversation we're having right now to happen. This is exactly the reason why I wanted you on, because I need to have honest conversations with people to improve and move forward in my life. Everyone, Dark Side Phil here. The only detractor channel that I watch is Duty Streams.